Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Happy Valentine's Day. We are joined here by the one, the only Michael Kell, man who wears many hats, doctorate in this, doctorate in that. He's just a smart man with a skeleton in the background, which, by the way, I love looking at every week. And we want to welcome him back here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Oops.
There you go.
What happened there?
I don't know. I heard a ding.
Uh-oh. Well, never mind. Wait. Zoom went underneath the covers.
It's all right. Michael Kell joining us here live once again. Welcome back. Today is the day of love. And I know you as a writer, as a poet, and so much more are into romance and love and so much more than that. God's Greatest Miracle. Don't forget, you got to check that out. Get a copy of that. And also, if we're looking for you, though, online, how can we reach you?
Support at thegrailexercises.com. Should be working now.
Okay. And the website?
Enlightenment123.org.
Perfect. Thank you so much for being here.
So I apologize if I don't seem to answer anybody very fast.
That's okay. Pleasure to have you back here. So again, let's also remind everyone today's the day of love. And I know Michael Kell, we romanced the stone a few weeks ago. He talks a lot. He's got a lot of great theories and things figured out in his head. And he's a man of many, self-mastery of a lot. So please, what would you like to discuss for us today? And how are you going to awaken us on this day of love?
Well, first I have to wish you a happy Valentine's Day.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm thinking back to, I don't know if they did it when you were a little kid, but when I was a little kid a long time ago on my mom's day, I actually have a lot of Valentine's cards that she gave, to everybody, like she got in grammar school. I remember doing that, had family, boy or girl, it didn't matter. You did a Valentine's card for everybody, like in your first grade class.
At the table last night, that's what I did. One's in kindergarten, so we made special Valentines with stickers and a bag and a special penguin craft in it. Then my other one's into sports, so we did like sports erasers along with a Valentine in a bag. Yes, and so now he's going to come home today with 20-something Valentines, but I used to love that, and I love in the grocery store when you see them, you could buy them there. Like, that's so precious that you give everyone a little love on this special day, and it's so important for the kids to learn about too.
I think things like that are really good because like you ask, like, why am I so romantic? I mean, it could have been because of Valentine's.
Yeah, exactly. See,
but actually, what I'd like to talk about today, if it's okay with you, is that I think people have a great misunderstanding, and it's not their fault, of course, about what love is, and we don't, because in English we only have one word. Okay, and there's different kinds of love, of course. Okay, but I want to go back to, because sometimes I talk about Christians, sometimes about Jewish people, sometimes I talk about Hindu people, sometimes I talk about the Kabbalists, which are the mystical, old Jewish guys. So they're really popular these days. And Madonna doesn't know much about it. I don't care what she says, the Kabbalah Central, whatever it is. Okay, little bands on your wrist don't do crapola.
Okay.
If you actually get into Kabbalism and ask certain questions that are really important and pertinent to your life, is the first question to ask, is what does the Creator do? And they can't really talk about the source. God's beyond any description.
Yeah.
There's no words.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to use human words. They call it the language of the branches in order to understand the roots.
Okay.
And so what the true Kabbalists teach is that the Creator, it doesn't have no gender or anything. It's just the Creator creates solely for one simple reason. And that is because the Creator desires, which is kind of a bad word used, but it's basically
wants. Mm-hmm.
Desires to bestow, and bestow is a gift without expectation of a reward, right? It's free.
True.
To bestow goodness on creatures. In every living thing, amoeba, human beings.
Is that true? Can you find someone to bestow you?
This is God, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, but there's a problem with it, though, which explains a lot of things goes on in the world, is that in order to, God wants to bestow, but he has to create, or she has to create creatures. Actually, I think it's actually mother and father, really, but create creatures that only desire to receive.
Yeah.
If you think of lower animals, they're not conscious. So everything they do is receive to reproduce or receive to survive or receive that care of their kids, when they're down. Okay. And so what the creator would like, let's say, is that people they have to receive, okay? You have to receive with 100% of what God bestows on you. But our choice is how to use that. And that's why the word goodness is sort of a tricky word. Okay? Because it's really the driving force for all creation in our lives. Okay? It's not love. It's just a force that we can use, empowers us to do things.
Mm-hmm.
So there's only two ways you can use that force.
Okay.
One, like for example, with your children, okay, and this is the motherly, but you bestow upon them. You take some of this bestowal from God and you give it to them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Putin probably takes all of it for himself.
Yeah.
Probably Biden and Trump too. Okay, but that's another issue. And so what the choice is what to do about this goodness, this force, okay? And what I've learned over the years talking to people, unless they're like totally psychotic, is that I don't know anybody that does something that they don't think is good for themselves in some way, whether it's sacrificing or whether it's, being a mafia leader.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the problem. We have two ways to be. We either go down the path of altruism,
Yeah.
and generosity,
Mm-hmm.
kindness, and all those good words, or we go down the path of egoism and power and control and super wealth for the sake of those things themselves. Okay.
Yeah.
And so that is the problem with creating a universe, is there's no way to bypass that, and how do we know that? Because if you go to, to regular Jewish, theology and Christian theology, right, in Genesis and stuff, which obviously can't be absolutely true, is that, God created angels, okay, and clearly they thought there'd only be men because Adam was the guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Men, okay, and he created them eternal and perfect. As it says, okay, but it didn't work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Lucifer and whoever named Samuel, whatever you call him, and a few of his buddies said, I don't like that. I don't like this plan. I want to be in charge. I can do a better job. You can even say that he thought he really could do a better job.
Mm-hmm.
If he had the job. He had the job being in charge of the earth anyway. And so, and so even the angels didn't work out perfectly.
Yeah.
So what you're going to do now? Now, if this is a brand new first universe, you have to do a different way. And so one could argue that's why God created humanity.
Okay. Interesting. Okay.
Because you can't, I probably knows this, okay, but you can't create something perfect, because to be perfect, you'd have to be infinite.
True.
Without the scriptures.
Okay.
No egoism, okay? No anything. You just are. That's what it says. I am that I am.
I am.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's all the scriptures. And so the only way God can make angels who are as perfect as can be, some are still pretty good up there, okay?
Yeah.
Get on earth helping out a little bit.
Of course.
Is to do something new. Something that can't be corrupted.
Okay.
It has to go through a life, okay? And so what people don't understand, in the little book I talk, God's Greatest Miracle to Little Angels, talks about it a little bit, is what the solution is to create a vessel. In the Hebrew, and the Kabbalists would call it, it's not Kabbalism, they would call it a kli.
No. Yeah.
A kli. And this little kli, you can imagine, as a metaphor, is that it's a baby angel. Not newborn, but young angel, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And so, so you could call it like a soul seed, but the problem with the word soul is that if you actually read Genesis, when it said God breathed into, made man of the dust of the earth and breathed into him the breath of life and became a living soul, that means consciousness.
Okay.
Okay. So it's sort of a bad word, misused. So, but we can call it essence, or I'll call it soul vessel, but with a different meaning. And so what happens is, this is a really fair system, is that a soul vessel will contact a conscious being, a human. Okay. And the first contact is natural, which I think I've talked about before, is when babies are born and they're healthy and you see them. They are in a state of pure contentment, joy, right? Peace, well-being. So everybody is healthy, at least born into the kingdom of God, in a sense, the kingdom of God, the kingdom of the goddess, that matter, okay? And so they had a taste of it, you see? And so what happens is, well, when do you get a contact with this really? Now, people have been around a long time, reincarnated, get earlier and earlier contact. So they can make contact with the vessel can be in contact with the soul seed, okay? And that soul seed is maturing, growing and becoming individualized.
Yeah.
Which is what Creator wants.
Okay.
And so what happens is, our bodies and stuff are just a vehicle. That's all they are. They're temporary. They're mortal. They're going to pass. They can't be reconstituted forever. But what we learn and grow in life, if it's beneficial and altruistic, imprints itself on this angel. So the angel becomes more and more conscious as time goes on. And the goal is the angel to be fully illuminated and actually equal to the angels that were first made. But they're different because they've been tested and tested and tested, and only succeed if they can overcome egoism and greed, and desire for power, and super wealth. Okay, it's okay to be rich. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
And, so God probably can
I'm waiting. Yes.
ongoing all the time. Okay,
Yes.
and that fixes the problem. But the problem is that a lot of people don't want a soul seed. There's no rule that says you have to have it. And so I would say the great majority of people, because they haven't been brought up properly, or they haven't had the right circumstances. There's a lot of uncertainty in life, so you can't blame them.
I know. Yeah.
There's no point blaming them. You just deal with them. Like Putin, and Trump and Biden and those guys in Hunter, they have no soul seed. It's one thing. It's one thing sometimes when we all make mistakes, okay, or young, we don't understand, but we grow out of it, right?
True.
So, so now
most of us do. Yes. I would like to
grow out of it, and we learn that's not the right way. And so, fortunately, they don't necessarily continue. Okay, but the Bible and Christians are wrong a little bit when they say, well, when you die, your soul gets judged, and then bad souls go to hell, like the angels. If the angels are in hell, okay.
I'm so confused about that too. The whole going to hell thing. Does that really exist? I don't know.
It does.
Okay.
It does exist, but not why people think. Because people get an
it's
idea.
Not burning. You're not rolling a rock up the hill for the rest of your life. It's not hot. It's the different type of
actually
hell.
cold. It's actually very cold.
Okay.
But see, not the soul that gets punished, because there is a rule that, see, if you think about this, if you had one molecule of God in you, how could you corrupt it? The pure creator. Okay, you can't. There's no way. There's no way to corrupt it. And so these soul seeds, or these little essence seeds, are like pure. And so what happens is people don't want them. They just go off. They don't care. They just hang around until a better vehicle comes up that they can attach to, wants them, and they work together until the end. And so, but what does happen is that when people die, their conscience doesn't extinguish right away. Right? I mean, that's probably pretty true. There's some brain studies, but I haven't read the books yet to see if they're agree that that consciousness lives on. But if you think about it, if you were a creator and you made the world and you realize, it's a pretty crappy place to be, but I have to. There's no other way I can do this. Make angels, real angels.
Yeah.
And so there should be some kind of compensation after death for the conscious being of the person. It's not forever. Okay, it may seem like forever to them. And so when people die, the consciousness, not this, soul, the consciousness moves up to a place. Okay, they go through judgment. And remember, I talked about they judge themselves.
Yeah.
And you can't fix that system. It always works. And so, because you have to pick what you like the best. So Putin's going to go to a really bad place, the bottom levels of hell, to be, to torture himself. But he can't do, okay? Because imagine the whole world full of Putins, and they're frozen in ice, say, for example. It's all they can do is have hate going out of their mouths. They can't do anything. So it's a great frustration, okay? Or I'll say, think they're gods and they're chained to a wall, and they're ugly and crippled and stuff, and they try to create something beautiful, and it always revolts against them. So it has to destroy universe after universe after universe. So in his mind or her mind.
Yeah.
But it's very fair because people get to pay back what they did. And it's even fairer because the Catholics are right that there is a purgatory. But it's not what they say it is necessarily. It's like community service. We get to that community service. So this is serious community service. And so, if you or I, passed, and we go, well, we realize we didn't do a good job as we could, but we didn't want to hurt anybody. We tried to do good, but we made errors. Okay. And so if there's a place you go and you say, well, I'll do community service because I don't want to be, not that I'm afraid to be at hell. I don't want to be like I am. And so you do community service and you work off your errors, the harm you did. And then you get to move up to a heaven, whichever appropriate to your highest desires. For some time, who knows how long, maybe as long as the universe lasts, but it's not forever.
Wow.
Right, full master. So that's what I've seen. Now, is it true? It doesn't matter if it's true. It's a good model. Living your life.
I apologize. We have to wrap this up. I have my next guest waiting again. Sorry, this was a quick show for you, but we can continue next time. And I'm so sorry. Wow, gosh, it was only 16 minutes, but this is what happened. So we apologize. Michael Kell, how can we reach out to you again? Tell us the website. Enlightenment123.org.
Enlightenment123.org and go to support at the Grail, the Holy Grail, the Grail exercises.
Got it.
Org.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Happy Valentine's Day. Have a fantastic day.
Next week.
I hope so. I'm going to make sure they reach out to you. I don't know the schedule in advance. I get my schedule every morning, so I don't even know who I'm talking to. I hope so. And we'll see you then. Thank you so much, Michael. Have a fantastic day. And to all of our listeners, happy Valentine's Day. Thank you. Bye.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.